It's about 2 minutes till 7 here on Tuesday night. Welcome, friends and family, creatives and actors, makeup artists. This is the third week for Tuesday at 7. I usually ramble here for a few minutes until it hits smack dab 7 o'clock, and then I jump right in. For the past several weeks, we've been talking about this. The past 2 weeks, and this is the third week, we've been talking about improv and how that can affect our lives, our act, if you happen to be an improvisational character, and how those type of skills can translate to other areas of your life. The very first week, and I welcome you to go back and watch it if you haven't already watched it, that was a week we talked about the beginning. This is the first time that I experienced it. I kind of got hooked, went around and participated in a show where improvisational acting was encouraged and taught, and ended up learning it. And over several years, first practiced improvisation in a queue line at in front of hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. Just not me, but other people that were performing. Then what I did is after a while, just learned that there had to be a system to it. And so in the process of spending time with some really talented people, it kind of created a model. Just took what was occurring, kind of placed it in a teachable fashion, and then it created a model which I just kind of break into a simplistic three-stage or three-step program. Those 3 steps are stage, go, and engage. So the very first week we were streaming, we're talking about the beginning, just my experience, first getting hooked into it. Last week we talked about the first step, which is stage, and the importance of, and I think even call it like all the world's a stage, and I believe that's true not only because of social media, but people watch. If you're at school, if you're in the workplace, if you are a character, right, then you're on stage at all times. If you happen to be working a queue line, never break character. And as a matter of fact, I'd say if you are just talking about you as a person, I'd say determine your character traits, what those things that are important to you and that you want to be outward facing, and never break character at those times either. Certainly work not to. But this is the second step, and this is, last week was stage, this is go, and so this is going to be a fast-paced 10 minutes probably. The concept is simple, but it's the most important piece of improvisation, I believe. Certainly in the model that I encourage people to give a try. So last week we were talking about stage, but we talked about traditional theater folks have a stage. As a matter of fact, I think we're on stage, and I'm on stage on Facebook right now, and our lives place us on a stage. And if we were traditional theater, or if we were just like maybe everybody else's profile on Facebook, or we were just a normal business, or a typical salesperson, or just maybe just the average person in our communities, and then we might be able to stage something that is memorable, maybe striking. But if all we do is perform on stage, and then we may be like a traditional theater, there's nothing wrong with traditional theater. It's not something that probably revs me up, but traditional theater has what's called the fourth wall. And the fourth wall in traditional theater is an imaginary wall that exists between the actors and the audience. Again, the fourth wall is the imaginary wall that exists between the actors and the audience. And in traditional theater, it's encouraged certainly in probably most traditional scripts that fourth wall is not broken. Outside of maybe a pause, you do not break the fourth wall in traditional theater. But in improvisation, and certainly what I am in teaching in business, in what we do personal, in our personal profiles and our own characters, is that I think that we need to break the fourth wall every time that we are on stage, every time that we are improvisational acting. You have to break that fourth wall. If not, you're just traditional theater. Think about somebody who creates a great character, personal character, or creates a great improvisational character, and they're in front of a lot of folks. Maybe they're elevated and all they do is remain on stage. you might know a little bit about that character from afar, but if all you do is remain on stage, and then you're just kind of a traditional act, and if all you do is remain on stage, you never bring your character into the cue line, even our personal character into the cue line, figuratively, then all we are is an actor, right? But I think if we intentionally break that fourth wall, and what I call that, and I call that the second stage, and that's go. And with improvisational acting and with effective business, I think effective personalities is that we have to go. And that's what separates traditional theater from improvisational acting and theater and improving for life and with life skills, is you have to go. You have to go and approach your audience, approach your community, approach your workforce, approach your customers, approach your audience. If you're an improvisational character and you are spending time and you're building a look and you're building a costume and you're building some posture and some movement, if all you do is stay from afar. So imagine whatever it is. If it's my character and I'm on this traditional stage and all I do is stay here, right? Then there's a theatrical staging aspect. But as soon as I come down, right, and I approach those folks that are around me, then what I've done is I've broken that fourth wall and I've created an improvisational aspect to what I'm doing. I would even say that right now I'm on Facebook, but I guess I'm on stage, but by streaming out, I am going to the community and the artists. There's folks that are watching here that are much more talented than me, and folks that do some great improv and some great go techniques, and I'm really blessed to be surrounded by some great folks. But if we don't go, right, and if Roger doesn't go, and then I am not as effective as when I do go. So the important thing is go. Now, in terms of, we're talking about improvisational character building here, so I'm talking about several different aspects of it. We talk about the fourth wall. If you are an improvisational actor, right, and you're creating something that will actually, we're talking in the actual character development that you're going to be building into a cue line. I am a big proponent from approaching your audience within eyesight, or 120 degrees, I guess is what I'm saying. It's not quite 180. If you're going to be approaching an audience or the customers, I would say approach them from their line of sight. I think that is the most effective approach, is to do it within their line of sight, not to sneak up on them, not to come from maybe a blind spot. There's exceptions to that rule. So this is improvisation is an art. It's not a science, but I would say, generally speaking, do it within your vision, within your audience's vision, and probably in all aspects too. Is that be intentional about going, be intentional about your character, be intentional about your approach, and I think that's those are some really important aspects in all areas of improv as we go, right, and figuratively and literatively, that I think you have to be prepared for reactions from your audience. And we're going to be talking more about that next week, which is the reaction of the audience. But when you approach your audience, you have to be prepared for what I believe is a potential immediate reaction, right? And it's what I would call the fight or flight reaction. Sometimes when you're approaching an audience, sometimes they turn and they're out. And I'm talking about maybe an improv character. They're doing a mime, or you're doing a haunt character, or you're maybe in a medieval fantasy fair. I've been talking about those as improvisational characters. And when you go to your audience, sometimes they just turn around and boogie out of there. And so that often has happened. If you are approaching somebody and they're confined, flight sometimes is a reaction that sometimes goes through you, right? Especially if you are blocking some folks, or their exit out, sometimes they're going to push through you. So be prepared for the flight. Be also prepared for the fight. And that fight happens, I think, very subconsciously. If you have an unexpected go or unexpected approach, and then very often you'll just get a subconscious boom, hand up like this. Sometimes you'll get the fist that goes up. But attend to that. Attend to fight or flight possibility when you're quickly approaching your audience. But as we talked the very first week, we talked about building. Last week we talked about staging. Today, this is a quick 10, 12 minutes of go. And if you think about it, what's the opposite of go? Sometimes you can define things by thinking of them in their opposite, and the opposite of go, I would probably say, would be stay, right? Stay, you're either going to stay or you're going to go. And if you think about go in its opposite, and just say, man, I mean, what am I going to choose today? Am I going to choose to stay? Choose to stay. I'm not approaching. I am going to remain static. I'm going to remain on stage. I'm not going to really go out into my community. I'm going to be maybe a hunt character, and I'm just going to stay. Or the opposite, which is I think built into improv, certainly into what I'm trying to express out, and that is to go, right? To stage and to go. And next week we're going to be talking about what is probably the most difficult part of improving, and that is the engage step. So step 1, stage. Step 2, go. Step 3, engage. And next week we're going to dig into that a little bit. In the meantime, if you think about it, going is a figurative go. I mean, I'm not chasing you guys down. I'm on Facebook, so I am going here by streaming. If I am calling somebody up, I am going to them. If I say to somebody, I miss you, that is going. If I launch a text, that's going. If I'm an improv character and I'm breaking the fourth wall, I'm going. If I am Booger and there is character Booger and there is a queue line and 4 people from afar who's hesitantly moving in my direction, I am going there. And again, next week we're going to be talking about the engagement. And the engagement is the magical part. First of all, going is necessary, but going is not enough. You have to go and then you have to engage. And next week is when we're going to talk about that. I hope you guys are finding this information useful. For no other reason, I'm putting it out there from afar. I'm seeing, 300-ish views a week. It builds, maybe another 50 or 100 a week. Sometimes it moves. And if I were to just guess my, kind of the whole 10% idea, that's my observation, is that 10% of people who kind of click in and listen through, 10% are those that say, I can use a piece of that information, apply it to my act, apply it to my art, apply it to my life, apply it to my business, and find success in applying some of that. Last week I gave my contact information. It's my email. It's Roger, Roger, Ichabod, Ichabod. It's Roger Ichabod, Roger, Ichabod @AOL.com. This is not what I do for a living. This is something I'm just trying to share forward, pass on forward as part of my go in my life. But I'm here to provide the information. I also do some coaching, and if you're looking for that, if you're looking to maybe put together a couple ideas for some strategies for your business, for your sales force, for your personal growth, for your character building, for your hunt character, for your medieval character, for your mime, for whatever character or need you want, feel free to contact me by email. I check that every day or so, and I'll be happy to jump in and give you some encouragement and some of my thoughts as well. I'm enjoying getting out in front of you. Next week will be the last week of the tenets of improv, Improv for Life, and it's going to be the engagement piece. We're going to be talking about creating opportunities to engage, the techniques to do so, and then we're also going to talk about building engagement rings. After that, so next week, then we're going to be done with improv. And so I know this is kind of a niche thing. I know that even though I think it can really apply to a lot of folks, I think a smaller group of people are kind of tuned in and want to click into this thought. But I think it's important for everybody. But in September. So next week's going to be the last week of the whole improv. We're going to move into Labor Day, and then we're going to bounce back out, and we're going into special effects. If you have any ideas about what you want to do, this is for people who are thinking about characters, or just as we're going into the fall, the October season, we're going to do some special effects, and this is kind of pick up as to our streaming ideas last year in 2017. We're going to be doing some simple stuff that if you're a very beginner, or if you're a novice, or if you're a completely advanced person, you'll find some useful information in that special effects month of September. Again, we're doing Tuesday at 7. If you choose, I think, I don't know where your share button is. I don't know if I think it might be down in this area here. But if you decide that you want to share, you can launch out to your entire friends list. And if you choose to do so, I am greatly appreciative of that vote of confidence. However, if you share it, you can share it to a specific person on your list. So I've had a couple folks that just go, oh, this one person would be perfect to kind of hear these things. So if you share it, you can pick one person or 2 people or 3 people to share it to. Then it can be you can kind of snipe the information to the people that you think would be most useful to. Guys, have a good week. It's Tuesday. We still have tomorrow's hump day. We're gearing up into kind of trailing off the summer. Make your lives extraordinary. You guys have been blessed with talent. Don't bury it. Use it. Put it out on stage, and be a positive influence to those around you. Again, have a great week.